lifeboat. Happy Saturday, people. Let me see if I can get this all squared away. It's been a while since I had to do this without Mark. I'll be listening while driving. Well, seventh son, for the love of God, be careful, please. Make sure the driving does come before the listening. Normally, people, I would have my partner Mark riding shotgun with me on this. Oh, I love it when that happens. We would have Mark riding shotgun with me, but Mark has been burning the candle at both ends. If you missed, he did an amazing live feed last night. Just a super message and a lot of really cool stuff. If you've never been over to Wages World, you really need to get over there and check it out. Not just because it's Mark, but because it's absolutely fascinating. It really is. The stuff that he talks about with the stuff that he talks about with the space weather is really something else. And it's he has an amazing ability to he's got an amazing ability to make it so that it's understandable for people. I was not particularly good at science at any point in my life. I was also not particularly good at math or too many other courses. No, seriously, the only stuff I really struggled with in school were the sort of the math and science stuff. I enjoyed the rest of it, but it's wait a sec, seventh son. If you're doing this while driving, I don't think commenting is such a good idea. Come on, brother, please take care of yourself. And it's kind of funny because that's going to dovetail into what we're talking about, sort of. Thank you so much, Fee. We got a 5x5. Today we are going to be talking about communication and just how important communication is, and also just how dangerous miscommunication is. And there's a lot of relevance to what it is that we do here, not just at the lifeboat, but in terms of changing yourself, becoming a new person. One of the things that suffers in a really big way when you're addicted to drugs is going to be your communication. It's one of the first things that goes. Honestly, we tend to stop communicating with people, period. The only things that we talk about, the only things that we care about tend to be our habits. So it ends up being one of those situations where it really does take a back seat. But I wanted to, Miss V, good to see you. I wanted to start off with a story that's borderline terrifying, and it's one of the largest causes of why there's a lifeboat. It's one of the biggest reasons that there's a necessity for what it is that we do here. How many times a week do I end up saying that we're going to lose 263 people today to overdoses? The largest majority of those overdoses come from opiates. In fact, almost all of them come from opiates. But if you start to try to track the opiate epidemic, most people have a fairly good handle on the fact that it started primarily with OxyContin. That was really the driving force behind the opiate epidemic. They had come out with a brand new drug, which was, for all intents and purposes, Percodan. It's the same drug, right? Oxycodone put into a time-release tablet became OxyContin. Well, oxycodone is just Percodan. So instead of getting a very small dose, they made a huge, ridiculous sized dose as high as 80 milligrams. The idea being, with a coating that they put on the outside of the pill, this was going to dissolve slowly in your stomach over the course of the day, and it would bleed out, over a time-released period. And the problem was, it is a ridiculously addicting tablet. This is a pill that really, enslaved an awful lot of people. And the problem became that the drug manufacturers pushed this onto the doctors who were prescribing it with impunity. And they told them that there was less than a 4% chance of people getting addicted to it. Now you think to yourself, how do you come up with a number like a 4% chance of anybody getting addicted? And the crazy thing, people, is they quoted a report that has come to be known as the Porter-Gick, or JIC. It's J-I-K. And that Porter-Jick report is now world famous. The crazy thing, people, is that it doesn't exist. There is no Porter-Jick study at all. What happened is a doctor in Boston, Massachusetts, had a computer system. This is in the late 80s and going into the early 90s, and it was one of the first places in the country where a hospital had hooked up a computer system that could track all of these things that are going on, right? So they could track who was given what medication, how long did they take it, things along those lines. So one day, after listening to a radio show that talked about addiction, this gentleman, Dr. Jick, said he thought he would sit down and see what the numbers on patients that he had seen going through the hospital who developed into drug addiction. Keeping in mind, these were not people that were getting pain management. These weren't people that were getting, these were people that went in, had a surgery, were given a very small number of pills and were sent out the door. Keeping in mind, they were not sent out the door with OxyContin. They were sent out the door with just some random opiate, more often than not hydrocodone, which is the bottom of the food chain in terms of the strength, in opiates. Not a very strong opiate. So he compiles this study, and he finds that only about 4% of people ever started trying to come back and get more of this. And in follow-up interviews, admitted that they were suffering from some kind of addiction. So he asks his secretary, right, to type this up. And he thought, some people might be interested in seeing this. So he took that letter, which would later be, come to be known as the Porter-Jick letter, because Porter was the one that typed it up. And he mailed it into the New England Journal of Medicine. And this little report, which was not a study, there was no double blind, there was none of the things that people do in a study. This was just a random sampling of something that had happened at his hospital that he took the time to write about. But that study, air quotes, that study became what was quoted in every single piece of literature for OxyContin, for all of the other derivatives of the stronger opiates. They would say, well, according to Porter and Jick, there's no threat whatsoever. Less than 4% of patients are ever going to get addicted to this. And doctors read this report as if it was law. A miscommunication got doctors all over the United States to believe that if a guy had a headache, you could give him OxyContin. If a guy came in and said, I've had some problems with drugs in the past, they said, nah, don't worry about it. These opiates, less than a 4% chance of addiction. This is a miracle drug. It's going to take the pain away, but there's no chance that you're going to get addicted to it. 4 out of 100. Never happened. That study wasn't a study. It was just something that he thought people would find interesting. Years down the road, after the opiate epidemic was an epidemic, and after pill mills and the deaths and all of the things that came along with that, horrible opiate epidemic, Congress started looking through all of the literature from Pfizer, from some of the other large pharmaceutical manufacturing houses, and wanted to know, where did you get this statistic that less than 4% of people who are going to take this could possibly become addicted? And they said, well, of course, this would be the Porter-Jick study. Well, when they went and found Dr. Porter, literally like a decade and a half later, he got a subpoena, and his response was, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't do any study on opiates. He had no idea that in every single piece of literature that they were mailing out to hospitals, that they were handing to doctors, they were quoting this study and telling doctors, you got nothing to worry about. Prescribe the hell out of this. This is the safest painkiller in the entire world. You cannot do better than OxyContin. Nothing is safer. And doctors aren't taking the time to go and study this thing. Alan Ballantyne, always good to see your name, brother. Doctors aren't taking the time to go through these studies. They took the literature that came from Pfizer and read it. According to Porter and Jick, we have nothing to worry about. This drug is harmless. Miscommunication has led to the deaths of untold hundreds of thousands of people who have died from overdoses on OxyContin. Hundreds of thousands. And you know what, people? They're the lucky ones. In many instances, they're the lucky ones. There's the numbers of who are still walking around enslaved, people who lost homes and lost husbands and wives and lost kids, and all of the things that this epidemic has touched off, all started with a heinous case of miscommunication. Frightening. I mean, a study that didn't exist. Nowhere along the way did anybody say, "Boy, I'd kind of like to see the information on this." I mean, you're quoting it in your collateral material, right? In your advertising, in the stuff that you mail to doctors. You're saying this is harmless, based on a study that didn't exist. And when they went to subpoena Dr. Jick, he said, "No, I don't have time to go to Congress and testify against this. This is ridiculous. Why would I do that?" They said, "No, you don't understand. You're going to prison if you don't come and testify at Congress." But when he went up there, Congress was appalled. When they asked the question and said, "Can you explain your study?" He said, "I didn't do a study. I don't know what you're talking about. There was no study." This is exactly what happened. This is how the opioid epidemic in this country got kicked off. It got kicked off by a vicious case of miscommunication. It's a frightening concept if you think about it, people. But every single day in this country, every single day on YouTube, every single day everywhere, miscommunications is leading to absolute leads to fights, leads to arguments, leads to all kinds of things that go out of their way to hurt people. There are people today who are talking all kinds of bad about people because of miscommunication. It is our number one tool for doing anything correct. It is our number one tool for helping people. It is our number one tool for reaching out to find new people that need our assistance. Communication is our number one tool. It is also our number one weapon. If you start miscommunicating, if you start saying things that you say before you think about it, there is a danger. One of the most vicious instruments that has ever been created is the tongue. It can do more damage. Wars have been started, right? The number of atrocities that have happened in this world based on things that people said. We've said so many times here on this show that words mean things. But it really, when you start to think about the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of dead people and there are millions of people who are addicted and enslaved because of a miscommunication, it should really hammer home just how important it is that you think about the things that you say before they come out of your mouth. Really. And it's something that everybody struggles with. I'm getting better at it every day because I sit in front of a camera most of the time that I talk. I'm here and I'm live, right? If I make a mistake, I'm in deep trouble. So I find myself having to really think about every single thing that comes out of my mouth before I say it. We live in a cancel culture, people. If you're from another country and this is something that you may not be familiar with, there are people who have said things accidentally. And I'm going to use an example. So let me make sure that everybody understands before I use this example that I am using it as an example, right? Because miscommunication could tear me up for this. But there was a period of time in this country where people used the word retarded as a way of saying that something didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, there are people who have been literally fired from their jobs for tweeting that word. Now, is it a nice word? Is it something that people ought to say? Absolutely not. There are people in this world who are out living every day and struggling with that, or people who have children who were born with mental retardation. It's not a word that ought to get used. However, we live in a culture now where if you make one mistake, one slip of the tongue, and they'll cancel you. And if you're not familiar with what this means, there have been cases where people were getting 4 million emails and tweets a day because they said something that somebody found offensive. That's the reality of the world. Now, not so much for you people in the comments section. If you say something dumb, one of our beautiful girls with a wrench or one of the guys with a wrench is just going to eliminate it, right? He's going to remove that comment. But if I do it, if I say something here stupid from the front of the camera, I say something into this microphone that's going to offend people, and the boat goes sideways. This is the cancel culture that we live in. And the reason I'm bringing this up, people, is so you get an idea of just how important it is that the things that we say to one another, the Blue Yeti microphone, the things that we say to one another, we should probably think about before we say them. Let's try to go so that our default setting is kindness. In our communication, let's just try to be nicer. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir, but we all lose it. Last night I went through probably 900 comments. I didn't answer all of them, but I went through about 900 comments, and I came across a handful where people said things that were just biting, or there were some curses that got through because I haven't really been on my game as much as I should be. Derek, N, good to see you. But it started to really make me think. And on the flip side of that too, I've always said that our default setting should be kindness, right? Everybody, I've said it a million times, Chi-Chi, right? Should be our default setting. Someone who is just kind to a fault. It goes both ways. Don't say things that are going to hurt somebody. But if somebody says something, let's not assume instantly that the thing that they said should get them nailed, to a tree because of what they said. Let's assume that people make mistakes, just like somebody who stumbles in trying to get sober. And let's start getting better at forgiving people. Folks, I am wrestling with this on a day-to-day basis. I told you all I have shared so much of my life with the boat. And I talked about how there were two people in my life that I really was struggling forgiving. And I'm not lying to you when I tell you that I'm over it. I spent a lot of time praying about it. I spent a lot of time just really doing everything within my power to think of these people only in a positive way. And in doing that, I was able to move on. I really was. And I'm proud as heck of that. But as soon as I did, I got a whole new host of people that need forgiveness. I mean, for real. I'm not telling anybody here anything that they don't know, but I got a group of people that are not fond of me. And recently, that is elevated to the point of death threats. Now, I'm not particularly concerned about this people. They're keyboard warriors. But I have a gentleman, I think I've said this on a video in the past. I've got a guy that likes to email me, and all he says is that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when I am found dead with a needle in my arm. Not particularly nice, but it's not affecting me either. But the amazing thing to me is I delete this cat every single time he sends me an email. I block it, right? Everybody, you can block a person from an email the same way you can anything else. So I block this person's email. And amazingly, he sets up another one, right? Have you ever tried to set up a Gmail email? It's not a 2-second occurrence. And it got me thinking, as I was deleting probably the 60th one of these that he sent last night at about 12:06, which is what time it comes in. He sets his watch by this. Very impressive as far as it goes. It's as I'm watching this come up again, I thought if this person took the time and the effort that he is working to to dislike me as much as he does, and put it toward anything, he would be successful in life. When we were drug addicts, when I was a drug addict, I spent probably at least half of my life as a drug addict sitting in a parking lot waiting for somebody to deliver drugs. Because my drug of choice was heroin, and because it is in the US almost 100 out of 100 times handled in a delivery system where you call a dispatch number. The dispatch number sends out a driver. He's usually got 2 or 3 cars going at any time, and he asks you where you are. You tell him, and he tells you some place to meet him. And you go and wait in that parking lot, and they say, I'll be there in 5 minutes, which does not ever happen. And usually it's 30 to 40 minutes, maybe an hour, every single time. And you as a heroin addict, you need drugs 2 or 3 times a day, and it's not, you're not always sitting around with enough, with enough money to buy it all at once. So there were a lot of times where, especially Jack and I, we'd be sitting in parking lots 3 different times a day waiting on a dope guy, and it could take, 3 or 4, 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours of just sitting in a parking lot waiting, and you start saying to yourself, what could I have done with the amount of time that I wasted? People, as we start turning a new page and becoming a new creation after getting sober, you're going to find you have an awful lot of time on your hands. It's just the nature of sobriety. You are going to have a lot of time on your hands. Please, start thinking in terms of a third page individual. If you're new here and you don't know what I'm talking about, I refer to the third page because when I got sober, when I decided to turn my life around, the first page was why. The first page in that book, I listed why I needed to get sober. The things that were most important to me, my daughter, my dad, the things that really were the driving force behind why I needed to get sober. The second page, I listed every single characteristic about myself. And it really became one of those things that, I was very unhappy with that list. I was a thief, I was a liar, and I went right down the list. The third page was what I wanted to become. So as you start to create the new you, as you start to create that person, start thinking about what you are going to do, because you're going to have more time on your hands. And if that time is not occupied with something, then you are backsliding fast towards your previous life. Saturdays or, the weekends, I spend an awful lot of time trying to make this house look good. These are not the kind of things that I did on dope. If I was living in a house and I was on dope, it had, 2 feet weeds in the front yard, and I just was not a guy that took care of anything. But now, I have all of this time on my hands, and I really need to occupy that time. I really need to make sure that I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs. Because as recovering addicts, if you have time on your hands and you're doing nothing, I promise you people, you're in trouble. And ask anybody who has done this. Ask anybody who has gotten sober, and they will tell you that idle times, sitting around, is one of those things that absolutely will drive you back to what you're doing. I would recommend start working out, right? Start doing any of those things that you didn't do before that are going to also do things like create endorphins. Spanx Calhoun, so good to see you. Speaking of the whys on my page, that is my son, people, and my absolute pride and joy. But I've talked about how the opposite of addiction is not necessarily sobriety, but the opposite of addiction is connection, right? As an addict, you are so isolated when you're using. And I don't care if you're using in a room with 60 people, you are isolated when you are using. You are the only thing in your world. You are the center of your universe. You don't care about anything else. You only focus on your next buzz. You only focus on your next fix. So when you start to turn the page, to go to page 3, and you start to make yourself into a new individual, it's not a matter of sober or using. It's a matter of connection, right? How many things can you connect to? How many times and how many different ways can you create new points of contact? So today, I'm outside, I'm cleaning, people, I've complained ad nauseum about the acorns falling off of my 2 huge oak trees in my front yard, and the hundreds and hundreds of pounds of acorns that I've had to pick up. Well, now they're all gone, and the leaves are falling. And I'm not kidding, people. I went out today and mowed the lawn, got rid of all the leaves on the lawn, and then went out with a vacuum cleaner. I don't know if you've ever seen these things, but it's like a big vacuum cleaner that sucks up debris, I guess. It sucks up leaves and things like that, and then mulches them and puts them in a bag. I spent about an hour vacuuming up literally every single leaf on that lawn. And as I'm looking out the window now, I can't see the lawn. It's already all back down. But these are things that are creating new memories. They're creating new contacts. I can't say this enough times. I hope you're familiar with the term rote learning or rote education, right? Where you just get things repeated so often that it absolutely drives something into you. It's something that becomes, knowledge based on the fact that you just won't stop hearing it. Well, allow me to really hammer this in. If you're doing the same things, hanging out in the same places, spending time with the same people, you do not have a chance of getting and staying sober. Not a chance. It's just not going to happen. So we need to start creating new points of contact, and you got to start creating new memories. Mark Wages, I think, famously brought this to light the first time when he said, if you create new memories, you're going to shove out the old ones. And I don't know that you shove them out completely, but you certainly dull them. You certainly get to a point where you really start to take the sting off of the things that you have done in your past. And that is the crux of what we're doing here on the lifeboat. It's not about quitting doing drugs. It really isn't. That is the smallest part of what we want to do. You understand? The fact that you're doing drugs has created a person that needs to be fixed. You understand? You know something that's a great idea? He said I should put up something and catch it with a tarp. I talked about this, man. A net or something along those lines. You're absolutely right. I'm telling you, I filled like 3 full-size garbage cans full of this. Yeah, absolutely awful. But I digress. People, the drugs are the smallest part of what's going on. When you do drugs, you find yourself changing every single thing about you. We've talked about the brain chemistry, and we've talked about the reward center of the brain. This is where you derail. This is where the train jumps the tracks. This is where the boat hits the iceberg. When the reward center of your brain starts giving you feel-good chemicals for things that you are doing incorrectly. The biggest dump of feel-good chemicals, honestly, that I remember in my life was the first time they handed me my son. It was absolutely phenomenal. Like, it almost made my legs weak. Fast forward 15 years, and the only thing giving me those chemicals was heroin. And that's tragic. But when you decide that you're going to quit, it's not a matter of saying, okay, I'm not doing heroin anymore. You have to rewire your brain. You have to get that train back on the tracks. You have to get the reward center of your brain working again. You have to get it to where it rewards you for doing the right thing instead of doing the wrong thing. And the only way that that is going to happen is if you start creating new points, right? These contact points in your brain, working out, fixing the house, going to book clubs, going to libraries, going out and checking out museums. The kinds of things you didn't do when you were getting high should be the kind of things you're targeting. Because once again, if you go and do the exact same things you were doing before and you think you're going to get a different result, we know what that's called, right? Yeah. If you do the exact same thing over and over again and you think you're going to get a different result, that's called insanity. It really is. It's called insanity. And it's what most addicts do. Those who are fortunate enough to quit doing dope, but not changing their lifestyle and don't go back, they develop a kind of miserable that is amazing to see. And I'll make you a promise, people. The guy that emails me every night at 12:06, that's a cat that quit doing drugs but did not change who he is. You understand? This sort of came full circle, but do you understand what I'm saying? The amount of time that people spend sitting in a parking lot is the same kind of thing that you can justify if you don't change who you are. It's the same kind of thing about getting a new email address 30 days a month, sitting down and taking the time to do that over and over and over again, right? That's a dry drunk. That is a person who took chemicals out of their life but changed nothing else. They're miserable. People, I said last night on the live feed, and this is something that I'm going to also beat into everybody. People like to argue whether or not addiction is a disease. I don't care which side of this you come down on. I really don't, because it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter what you call it. We're all fighting the same thing, and we're all in the same boat. I have my beliefs. Other people have their beliefs. But I'm telling you right now, hate is a disease. Hate is a disease, and it's a freaking epidemic in social media. It really is. I giggled earlier when I said I was getting death threats, and I saw a couple of comments that said death threats aren't funny. They're not funny, but you can deal with them a couple of different ways, right? I mean, I could wring my hands. The truth of the matter is, these people are cowards. These aren't people that are going to come by and actually do anything. You know, they're in mom's basement and they're acting tough, but I'm not particularly worried about these people, but you can sort of laugh at it, or you can you can let it get to you. I promise you, it's not getting to me. I shouldn't say that. It's annoying, you know what I mean? But I certainly am not hiring a security guard or sleeping any differently. Of course, since I don't really sleep much anyway. No, people, I have good news on that. On the sleeping front, I have done phenomenally well since the night that I bailed off of the live feed when I was reading Rampage's letter. You remember that night? Since then, I have been doing swimmingly. What I've been doing is I'm taking a couple of different sleep aids and I'm rotating them. I'm also using, so basically all of the things that I'm doing came from the comment section. There are different teas that I'm drinking, and I use melatonin, but I don't do it 2 days in a row. I do it every other day. And then there are days that I do, what do you call it, diphenhydramine. And then there's another one that I cannot remember the name of. I wish I had it in front of me. But if you're struggling with sleeping, you can shoot me an email. And I know most people are. You know, when you get sober, it's one of the things that really is going to mess with you more than anything else. Use CBD. I assume you mean the CBD that does not have any THC in it, because I'm panicking about that. I know a lot of people recommend CBD in a big way. I'm on federal probation, so every day I got to call this number and I got to go down and pee in a cup whenever they tell me to, and that's at least 3 times a week. There are times it's 4 or 5 times a week. It just depends on. It's all done on a number system, a random number system. But I'm terrified that I don't eat poppy seed bagels. I don't. There are so many things that I don't do because when you first get in there, they give you a long list of all of these things that can trigger you for a false positive, and I just really do not. I don't want to risk that. Warden Sam might not like CBD. First of all, I want to tell you something. I'm glad that you just said that. That is Jacob. Jacob Forrester said that the other day to me in a comment, and I got about 3 or 4 friends that I was in prison with that I still communicate with. For the most part, I don't talk to most of them. A lot of them are still in, but of the people who are out, I'm not. I was never on the same page with most of them, but I have 3 friends that really are turning their life around, and guys I'm super proud of. But I hit them all up with that, and they thought that was the funniest thing in the whole world. All of us are on. We all got out roughly the same time, and this federal probation thing, this Warden Sam thing lasts for a long time, so we're all on it. And boy, they thought that was funny. Jacob, that is great. I told you the day you put that up there, I said I'm going to use that. Yeah, I've been using the heck out of that. That is really, really funny stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. That's so good. So people, before I open this up to questions, because I want to do a longer question and answer time today. That's what we like to do on Saturdays, is kind of let our hair down. But before I do, I just want to hammer home, look, people, we come here, we're not like another channel. And I say that 15 times a day, and I'm sorry for that. I should say it 20 times a day. We're not like other channels. The 28 days, Joe Birdwell, I will get back to that. Hold that thought. We're not like other channels in a lot of ways. Number one, the negativity thing isn't here, which is huge. But one of the biggest things is how we do what we do, right? We do these live feeds. We do them often, and they run an hour, right? Your average YouTube video, I think, is 7 minutes. People don't put up 1 hour videos, and when they do, they certainly don't do them live. The reason that I do the live stuff, people, is just because of what's going on right now in the comments section. The lifeboat works, and the lifeboat is growing, and the lifeboat is winning because there's an opportunity for the people here to meet and get to know one another. And when someone's hurting, like you've seen it before, how many times in the comments section where someone will come in and say, I stumbled, or someone will come in and say, I'm slipping, and they get support from everybody on the boat. The only way that flies is doing the live feeds. But because of that, we communicate with one another on this channel like no other channel does. Seriously, I assume you people sub other channels, right? Could you give me the names of 10 or 15 of the subs and tell me things about them? Right? We're really an odd channel in that everybody gets to hang out and get to know one another, and but that opens up a can of worms, because all of the people who are coming and doing this, for the most part, have been broken, and they're in the process of getting fixed, right? So we just want to make sure that as we communicate, we think about the things we say before we say them. I don't want anyone to hurt anybody here. by saying something callous or saying something that they didn't think about, because that's the worst possible case scenario. M. Hunt? Oh, good to see you, man. Happy you are here, M. Hunt. I feel like it's been a minute. It could be me, though. My brain doesn't fire on all the cylinders. Yeah, so Joe Birdwell. Back to Joe. 28 days. I cannot begin to tell you just how proud we are of you. Uh-oh. I do believe we got it here. Joe, we are almost to that 1 month mark, my brother, and you did agree you are going to come back on here at 1 month so that we can do a where are you now kind of a thing. People, you remember the first time that we did an interview with Joe Birdwell. I believe, Joe, you had 7 days sober at that point, and it's been one of the most popular videos that we ever did here on the Lifeboat. The response that we got to that was just amazing. You know, like I told you, a couple of times already, we get letters from people in other countries, and phone calls and direct messages from people in other countries telling us just how much that particular interview affected them. And at the time, as we were getting off, I was with getting off the air. I was with Mark and Joe, and we were sitting there, and I said, I'd love to just keep doing this, as you're going through, because there's interesting things that you can bring up. It's different at a month than it was at a week. And it's going to be different at 6 months than it was at a month. And I love the idea of giving you an opportunity to share this journey with everybody. I think that's such a unique opportunity. And if you just got to the boat, people, Joe Birdwell is, he's almost the face of the Lifeboat right now. He's a guy that came from Wages World, I believe, and he watched for a while and just came and checked out the boat and saw what we were doing, and then one day said, this is the day. And 17 years of doing meth every single day. And, he said he had never even thought, of quitting. There had never been a time where he believed that was possible. So to do what you've done is just nothing short of miraculous, man. It really is. And we're all so proud of you. But we would love to have you on for the 1 month, the milestone of hitting the first month. That's a big deal, people. That's when you stop counting in days and you start counting in months. That's awesome. Sorry. That's a huge milestone, Joe. Really. Can't tell you just how proud we are of you. That is amazing. So, you have every single way possible to get a hold of me, Joe. Please reach out and hit me up today so that we can get you scheduled. Do another one of our interviews with you, because people are already emailing and talking about it. So, and Fiona says, "Ooh, yes, 1 month catch up." Yeah, everybody, since the first time I brought this up, about 3 videos ago, I've had a ton of emails and direct messages from people that said, yeah, when are you going to do this? When are you going to have, we got a 21 anchor salute, and it is appropriate. It really is. Really, truthfully. So, yeah, we'll get that set up. People will have him on, hopefully within the next 3 or 4 days. Worst case scenario, I'm telling you, within a week. We're definitely going to have Joe on. We got a couple of other things coming up this week that are going to be big. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the stuff that we're working on. I got a doctor that we're trying to get on here who is there's a lot of love here, man. There really is, Leisure Beast. There's a lot of love here. We're trying to get a doctor to come on here who works specifically with people who have chemical dependency. And he's not a PhD doctor. He's an MD. And we'd like to get him on here and have him. I'm not a doctor, people. I mean, I've read a lot of books. In fact, I got about 15 of them sitting here on the desk right now. But there really is a benefit to getting this from, and hearing the opinions of an MD. And I would love, if at all possible, for him to do 30 or 40 minutes and then give us maybe a half an hour or more of question and answer, so you have an opportunity to ask a legitimate, proper MD. I'm sorry, Tommy, but you're a good teacher. Thanks, Mrs. V. Miss V, I really appreciate that. You know what, people? The nice thing is this. I like talking to you all about this. But the important thing is that I've been able to bring all of us together. I think that's really the important thing. What I can promise you is I will continue to devour every single book that I possibly can get my hands on. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And you know something, people? You can't get a better recommendation. Marfugal News. If you people don't know what that is, and I'm not saying that because of the generous donation, I swear to you I'm not, but I didn't come across this until I think 3 days ago. And I went on a deep dive that this is one of the you can spend a lot of time deep diving at Marfugal. It is, and there's actually two of them. There's a Marfugal News, and then there's another one. I think it's called Marfugal TV. I have not spent a ton of time on the Marfugal TV yet, but the news is this is a really really cool channel, people. If you haven't gone over there and subbed, you should. And the coolest thing is that in many ways, the way that Mark and I do our setup when I do a live feed is very much based on what they do. Mark has been a fan of them forever, a huge fan of them forever. And Mark was actually on Marfugu yesterday, which was super cool. You know, people, if you haven't gotten over to Wages World, I don't know if you have an appreciation for just how good he is at what he does. I mean, no joke whatsoever. Mark is an authority on space weather, and I would be lying if I told you that I have more fun when that man is doing live feeds than I can begin to tell you about. I mean, honestly, it's just he's so good at what he does. He's able to bring this down to hold on one second. He's able to bring this down to a level that even I can handle it, because as I said, math and science were never really my strong suits. Let me see what we got here. Arizona Raven says, Leisure, good to hear. 1 minute at a time. Progress takes time. Took me 2.5 years of recovery and physical therapy after an accident in '87. I have faith you will get there. I had no equilibrium. It was a long journey. You know something, people? I don't know that how much of this I have discussed with everybody. When I did my history and I talked about being in prison and all of the other things, I was trying to get an awful lot into a 7 video period of time. There was a lot that went on during those years. And one of the things that I probably glossed over was because of how out of control I got with my drug use. I had 2 strokes in a very short period of time. And the second of those strokes left me in a wheelchair for about 6 months. And then when I got out of that wheelchair, it was the process of starting to try to walk again. The physical therapy on that was staggering. But I think Raven just hit it out of the park. When you're going through anything like that, and you can take this right into gaining sobriety and living your best life and all of that. There are times where the smallest things, can be considered success, and you're literally doing 30 seconds at a time or 1 minute at a time, just fighting for that next little ray of sunshine in terms of, boy, I did this. And I think if you're going through something like that, take the time to set your goals really, really attainable. I think a lot of times, like I remember saying they started me on physical therapy, and I would say, we would go and they had these little, it's like a wooden walkway that you hold on to. You got handles on each side, and it's only like 7 feet long. And the first time I got up there and started to walk, I was like, my goal for the day is to do 10 of these. And the guy just looked at me and started to laugh. He's like, 10 back and forth? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's not going to happen. And it was, for me, and if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. That's just sort of been the motto our entire lives. And I learned through that process, seriously, that the smallest of goals, so you set goals that you can attain. You people laugh when I say I get up in the morning and I make my bed, right? I get up in the morning and I make my bed because it's the first goal of the day. And if you knock out the first goal of the day 3 minutes into the day, you can catch a little momentum, right? And I literally set up my days this way. It's the point of contact that I was talking about. I used to laugh at people who made lists. I used to laugh at people that, had sticky notes, and I've just become that guy. Like, I got up this morning and made a list of all of the things that I wanted to get done today. And the more I can get done, the more that I can knock out one right after the other, the better a chance I have of really gaining momentum in everything that I do. In everything I do. You can train yourself to succeed. You can train yourself. Arizona Raven says, I make my bed without thinking. You know what? I can't. I'll be really honest with you. I don't know. Maybe I damaged my brain to the point where Rip Curl. I'm sorry. I just squirreled, but Rip Curl. So good to see you, my friend. I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am that you are here. Really happy that you are here. But Raven, I don't know if I just damaged my brain too much, but there are very few things in life that I can do without thinking about them. I know that probably sounds stupid, but I really have to sort of checklist and make a list for everything that I do, from making my bed to brushing my teeth. Like, I literally have to plan my stuff out, and it might just be that I spent so much time doing dope, and I just damaged myself. And the other thing is, I had a lot of concussions. I mean, the reality of the brain injury is, that's real. And as crazy as it sounds, people, getting diagnosed with that was such a blessing, because there were so many times in my life that I just thought, man, you got to be the dumbest person that ever lived. I had made decisions and I had done things that were just so awful. That didn't make any sense. And I would think to myself, I'm just really, really not very smart. I really am just not. That's yeah, exactly. The TBI. See, I didn't pick up TBI, traumatic brain injury. You're right. You're absolutely right. But when I got the diagnosis, I remember sitting down with the doctor the first time, and he said to me, well, this explains so much, because I'm not a dumb person. I've done a lot of really dumb things, but I'm not a stupid guy. I was able to get a degree, and I was able to do some things that, I was the president of a publicly traded company at one point, and I'd been successful in a lot of things that I did, and then I became a bank robber. Like, it, if you just sort of looked at a distance, from a distance, it doesn't really make a lot of sense that I became a bank robber and a gun runner. And prior to robbing banks, the people I robbed everything. Jack hopefully will be coming on this week, and Jack is going to be one of those guests that can really sort of give you an opportunity to hear or to glimpse a little bit into my past. Virginia Doolin said he had so many questions. Oh, I wish I know who he was. And did I? How much fun, Joe Birdwell. Yeah, I cannot wait to get Joe back on here. Really look forward to getting Joe back on the line. Jesse Brown says that Fee and Chi-Chi are just such inspirations. And you know something? I couldn't agree with you more. They are two people that epitomize everything that the boat is. They are kind beyond words, and they're just beautiful people. Yeah, inside and out, but there's two souls that. I've met very few people in my life that I can say are as positive as the two of them. I think that it's astounding that they met here on the boat. I think that's so cool, especially being born on the same day, the same year. It really is. It's a very cool thing. It's just a great story, and it's great that they're here and working the wrench. They really are top shelf. But you know what? I don't think there's anybody here with a wrench that isn't awesome, but yeah, those two really do sort of jump out. Only people I've met that out kindness a Canadian. That's funny. That is funny. I spent a lot of time with Canadians when I was younger. I skied, and when we talk about the North American ski team, it is not the U.S. ski team, it is the North American ski team. So you had people on the team from Canada and people from the United States. I spent a lot of time with a lot of Canadians. And I apologize for highlighting Fiona and Chi-Chi as much as I did, because I know that Fiona gets... I'm not trying to blush, make anybody blush or do any of that, make anybody super uncomfortable, but we all got to get used to that, I guess. People, I'm getting better. I really am. There's you gotta learn to take compliments. It's a difficult thing when you've been a drug addict. Rip Curl says, I would love to come on sometime and share my journey and how this touches everybody. Rip Curl, the reason that you are not on here already, hold on. It's Mark's fault. No, for real. Mark said to me, Rip said he would like to be on the show, and I said, boom, send me his contact info today. Like, do it right now. And I'm just picking on him. He's got so much going on. It's incredible. But I am Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. Send me an email today, Rip, and we will set that up. I mean, as soon as possible. I would love that. I absolutely would love that. I think that would just be, Mark and I talked about this last night for about 20 minutes. I would really, really be honored, and I know that it would do an awful lot of good. Please email me. I would love to do that interview. I can't tell you how much. And Mark will be tickled. And you know what else? We can say to him, we set it up without him helping, which will just be fun. I'll be like, you didn't take care of it. I had to go find him myself. It'll be great. It's always fun to mess with Mark. Mark is one of my favorite people. Truthfully, I can say this beyond a doubt. I don't know of anybody that I've met in my life that affected me as much as Mark has in as short a period of time. I mean, I've got some friends that I've had for, a really long time. Brandon Calloway, good to see you, my brother. Fighting the good fight. So good to see you, Brandon. There's so many people but as a guy that just came, I met Mark, man, it seems like 4 years ago, but I bet it was like 60 days ago. And we hit it off in a way that I've just never met anybody that sort of fell into step with everything that I was doing as fast as I did with Mark. He's just a great human being. I mean, he really is just a great human being, and he's funny, and he's got a way of talking me down when I'm acting stupid. And very few people can do that. The frustration of some of the things that go on, people on my patience level is still awful. You see me at my best. I come on here and, I smile and I talk for an hour. But when these things don't work, you people aren't there to see that. You know what I mean? When I'm gritting my teeth and I'm doing that number, usually the only person to see that is Mark. And he's just awesome at going, come on now, calm down, brother, and getting me back on track. I truthfully love the man. He's one of my favorite people, and I'm blessed that he is. I am really, really blessed that that he and I crossed paths. I'm so glad that the email came in when it did. And people, I'm glad it came in. When I say I'm glad it came in when it did, I mean, these days, I try really hard to get back to all of you as fast as I can. But last night, probably the Mark Fugel thing had probably a lot to do with this, because they were a huge channel, very, very successful channel. But after Mark mentioned the lifeboat on Mark Fugel, I think I got, between emails and direct messages, there was probably 200 of them. And it was just, I can't tell you how excited I was. That kind of stuff is great. I want all of that. I want more. Do not eat the new microphone. Angry Captain Tommy. You know what? This one here, no, the last one got thrown against a wall. This one here is absolutely perfect. And I have to thank this microphone. Had I asked Fiona's boy what I needed to do to get the sound quality, the way I wanted it, if I had asked him before I bought the 3 other microphones, I would have saved a ton of time and money. But this was Stefano that helped me out with this, and it's been great. I love this. But no, this is my baby. You guys paid for this, by the way. This was honestly, this came from gifts from the lifeboat. This was the first thing that And you know how bad I am and stuff like that. But you people bought this mic. I was so excited about that. I can't tell you. I think I made a big deal of it that day. But this was the first thing that the crew bought for the boat, and it's my prized possession. This is definitely not getting eaten or thrown anywhere. I really like this baby. This is the Blue Yeti. A little plug for Blue Yeti there. Me and tech stuff do not go together. That is so true. Chi-Chi's laughing at me because I was sending out some texts yesterday to some of the mods before I went out in the air, and I think I tried 6 times to send something to Chi-Chi, and then just had to like broom it and do it with a recording because I have really big fingers, and that whole typing thing. Fiona, be nice. No, I do have big fingers. It becomes an issue. I don't believe I said hello to Charlie Mullins. Charlie, really good to see you. It is a beautiful mic, Raven. It really is. By the way, you want to hear something, people? I have a lot of times it seems like you won't hear anybody talk about whatever widgets, and then somebody brings up a widget, and within 5 minutes, everybody you know is bringing up the widget. It's an odd phenomenon. I think they used to call it the 12 monkey theory or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly, but really odd. So as long as we've been a boat, we've been here about 90 days. Yeah, today is the 3-month anniversary, right? So no one has ever said, boy, there's a song that reminds me of the boat. I think I might have had one email like that a while back, but today I had 7 of them. I had 7 people in one day say, boy, I heard this song and you have got to hear this. And if you sent me one of those songs, you have my word. I am listening to every single one of those. I just haven't had a chance, but I'm going to, and I love the fact that, something that you heard something and it made you think of the boat. I think that is one of the coolest things ever, and you have my word. I'm going to listen to every one of those. I really do. Jacob Force, I call electronics modern inconveniences, if that gives you a hint. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I have, but I have Mark, and I have Stefano, and between the two of them, I'm in really good shape. Like I said, Hunter Haas, I love you, brother. I don't see Hunter enough anymore, man. And Hunter's been feeling under the weather, people. So if you could keep Hunter in your thoughts and prayers, I would really appreciate that. Because, he's my guy, and he hasn't been feeling well, and that stinks. You did post a song in a group once. I remember that. The song was Safe. I do remember that. Alan Ballantyne, Hunter, Virginia. I just want to make sure. Fiona. Oh, see, Fiona's being really funny because she's going to send me a song I don't want to listen to now. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you so much. It's too kind. There are a small list of songs that don't make the list. I will post those on the Facebook page. And I'll let you know which ones those are. If they're from German folk metal bands, it's probably a good indicator that one isn't going to be there. Before, people were getting close to the time when this wraps up, but before it does, Rip Curl, please, my friend, send me a email today, and so that we can set that up. I have honestly been. I've really been looking forward to this. I really have been looking forward to this, so that would be awesome. It really would. Oh, and people, you know that there was the T-shirt campaign ended yesterday, as I think I talked about that on this morning's video. But that entire campaign should be getting mailed out here. I mean, literally any day. They said it was like 1 or 2 days slower than it was going to be. Because of the supply chain stuff. However, we're good. Hello, Captain in chat. How long will I be live? About 60 more seconds, Swiss Vape. But listen, my friend, in 2 hours, we're going live again. You hear that? In 2 hours, we are going live again. So I'm really hoping that you have the opportunity to get on that one. Swiss Vape, man, we just miss each other. It seems like every time. It almost seems like you got to think every time I see your name, I'm like, oh, here he comes. All right, we're out of here. It's really not that way. It just seems that that we miss each other. But 2 hours, my friend, if you can be there, I will be going live again in 2 hours. So, but, and people, as far as why I jump off these pretty much precisely at an hour is because there is an unbelievable amount of research that has been. Oh, Denise Donegan just got here and we're wrapping up. If you want to be back in 2 hours, we're doing another live feed. You got here right at the tail end of this one, and we would love for you to check out what we're doing. But we don't go past an hour, people, and the reason is all of the research that has been done by everybody says that when someone sees even an hour and a couple of minutes, they go right by. So we do try to keep these just to an hour. We're going to be back in 6 o'clock on the West Coast. That would be Oculi Mortis's coast. If you want to meet us here in 2 hours, we're going to be doing this again. Invite a friend or two, people. Between now and then, you have one simple assignment. Get out there and try to save somebody. People, this is the lifeboat. And I am Captain Tommy Scoville. I will see you again in 2 hours. And people, make no mistake about it. This is life and death. 263 people are going to die of drug overdoses today in the United States alone. Make sure that you tell everybody that you care about who has a habit or whose life is being affected by drugs, that there's a better way. And she says, I'll come back. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you. And thank you so much, Arizona Mountain Sky, too kind. Thank you so much, Fiona, in spite of your, that German metal stuff. I am your captain, and I am out of here. Thank you, people. See you soon.